Welcome, everybody. We will call to order Grand Forks City Council meeting for Monday, June 3rd, 2024. Roll call, please, Maureen.
Weigel.
Here.
Salsky. Here. Weber.
Here.
Lenski. Here. Kavami.
Here.
Sandy.
Here.
And Veen.
Here.
All present. We have a quorum.
Thank you. Item 1.2, Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So we got a Boy Scout in the house, so I was almost going to call him up to lead us on that one, but he's just a little late. All right, item 1.3, Mayor's announcements. Right off the top here, pretty exciting. You got the award, Todd. The American Council of Engineering Companies of North Dakota granted the Engineering Excellence Award for Pedestrian and Bicycle Plan to Bolton Menk, Grand Forks, East Grand Forks, and the MPO. This award comes through a statewide competition process. I don't remember us getting this, at least in my term here, so pretty exciting. So we're going to present that to Mr. Grasser. I'm going to come down for a photo. So give Al a round of, give the engineering team a round of applause, and I'll come down. Okay.
Take this on behalf of all the guys who did all the work.
Couple other announcements. I think we got to give a big thank you to the streets and sanitation crews and anyone else that helped out with the spring cleanup. I think it went really well this year. What was the final total here? 755 tons. It's shocking how much tonnage can leave town because it's coming in little bits over the year, but definitely happy to see that, and hopefully everybody enjoys that service and will continue to do it long into the future. We did host here on Tuesday, May 21st, the Chamber Candidate Forum, so if anyone was around for that, I think it was a good event and a good place to have done that. I was out speaking with the Grand Forks Lions on May 22nd, good group that just keeps plugging away and doing good stuff, and then myself and Ken Veen did participate in the IBEW Candidate Forum on May 29th as well. I know some others may have done that previously. With that, there is upcoming events. Election Day is Tuesday, June 11th. So get out and vote. Day of the election, it'll be open. Polls will be open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Let's see, in Grand Forks, you got 4 designated election sites. So you can, let's see here, it's the Alaris Center. For anybody that doesn't know the address there, drive out by 42nd Street, 1200 South 42nd Street. Icon Arena and Park District Office, that's on 47th Avenue, 1060 47th Avenue South. Home of Economy, which I'm thinking will still be called Home of Economy while that voting is taking place there, but 1508 North Washington Street, and then Hope Church, 1601 17th Avenue South. Also, you can do early voting, but that is just at the Alaris Center, and that starts tomorrow. So you've got June 4th to June 8th to be able to do that. So Tuesday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., Wednesday, the 5th, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., Thursday and Friday, also 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., and then Saturday, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. So get out, do your civic duty, and vote. With that, we'll move on to 2, awards, presentations, appointments, and proclamations.
2.1, presentation on air service expansion update.
Mayor Buczynski, members of the City Council, we have the Meehan Group has been doing some good work over the last several weeks, and as you recall, they were going to partner up with the Grand Forks Airport and Ryan Riesinger. They were going to do some outreach in our community, and to most importantly do our business and institutional partner community, and then do some reaching out to the various airlines. They've checked a lot of boxes. They built some momentum, and it sounds like at any moment now that grant application will be in front of us, and we have 60 days to move that forward. But I think the good part is over the last several weeks, the group that you hired, the Meehan Group, has done a lot of positive moves and really built some momentum behind that. And they've got several slides to show you some of the progress that they've made, Mayor.
Great. Well, who wants to go first with the Meehan Group?
Can you guys hear?
Yeah, we can hear you just fine.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, council members. I can't see our slides. Am I, Todd, are we doing the slides, or, I'm sorry?
Why don't you do your slides and I'll move them if you have them in front of you?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Sorry about this, guys. Okay, very quickly, what we're looking at here is a schedule that we had proposed, and it's been very fast and furious. We did a kickoff meeting April 15, 16, I think right after we got the approval from the city council. And over the course of 2 days, we had about 14 meetings. And since then, we've had about another 7 virtually. And the majority of those meetings were with companies, but we also met with key constituents on the public sector side to really understand. Because we believe, first and foremost, we need to make a business case to the airlines about the business travel here, and then we'll focus on the leisure side. But as you look at these tasks, many of them are in progress and they will continue to be. We're going to continue to meet with new businesses every time we hear about a new one.
Zoe, would you mind continuing?
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we had lost you there for a little bit. Maybe, is there one of your other teammates that might have a little better signal that can continue? I don't know if that's Zoe.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now. Maybe give it one more shot and we'll go to plan B if that doesn't work.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. How far did we get on the kickoff meeting? Did we get to the kickoff meeting
Got
at
past
least?
that. Yep, I think you had just mentioned a lot of these are in progress, still going.
Yeah,
You probably have a
great.
scope of items to be determined based on need. Maybe you're there.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Mayor. So we had 14 meetings over 2 days. We had another 7 virtually. We have more meetings that we want to get to on the business side because we want to keep uncovering more businesses so that we can understand that. We put out an air travel survey, and in the course of 3 weeks, we came up with a very strong response, which we'll talk about in a minute. And as we look at that light blue line in sort of the top third section of this table, this is the part that we're in right now, which is the Small Community Air Service Development Program preparation, which Todd mentioned a bit about, but we're getting ready to put together an application. And the biggest part of that, other than, coming up with, there's many components to it, but other than coming up with a strong coalition, is getting a letter of support from a carrier, which is what we're working on right now. Other items that we determined needed to be done sort of right away. We went to a very important annual meeting that is an industry conference of airline and airports that get together and discuss only air service development issues. And Zoe's going to talk about that in just a minute. But let me move to this next slide, which is, can you guys see me? Okay, let's talk a little bit about our data collection efforts that we've been really implementing over the last 5 weeks. Our goal was to gain the perspective on air service in Grand Forks by the business traveler, sort of profile the business activity, understand their requirements, understand what kind of demand they generate outbound as well as attract inbound. We met with key city partners that have been very helpful to this whole process, including the airport, the EDC, UND, the CVB, the chamber, all the ones that you would imagine. We've met with companies, the companies on the right side of this list. We've met with all of them except the ones in asterisk. Those are planned. And then we have about 5 more planned. But we have found that there's a very unique air unique air travel market when it comes to the business side. There's a strong civilian business side. There's a strong defense, what we're going to call defense business side and defense related business side. There's also a strong outbound leisure component, as well as an education market, right? UND really drives both outbound and inbound travel. So there's sort of 4 major segments that we really want to sort of structure our business discussions with the airlines around so that they can understand this, the unique dynamics of this market. So let's talk a bit about the air travel survey and sort of just some highlights. We developed an air travel survey and we got a lot of support from the Chamber and the EDC to help distribute it. In the course of 3 weeks, we had almost 150 survey respondents, and we got 60 companies. At the end of this survey, we have a question: would you be a part of a business task force, business air service task force? We got 60 companies that have signed up to be on that task force, and all that has told us is that business travel and air travel in general is really important to the businesses in Greater Grand Forks, and it's a priority. The fact that they took the survey and the fact that they want to serve on the task force just tells us this is something that's really important to them. So let's talk a little bit about some top level findings. There's a lot more, and we don't want to really kind of get into the details on spend and volume because we want to be confidential and because they've trusted us. But we've seen some very strong spend and outbound volume generated by about a dozen companies. It's that 80-20 rule. 80% or 20% of the 80% of the travel is done by 20% of the companies, right? But 40% intend to increase that air travel activity and spend next year, while another 58% expect the same volume as this year. And everybody is up in travel volume this year as compared to 2019. And there's an even stronger inbound business trips that are attracted. The type of activity that's being done in Grand Forks, particularly on the defense and defense-related side, is really attracting a lot of inbound visitors on the business side from all over the country and even internationally. So it was good to get this kind of information that we can share with the airlines. And there's a very strong preference overwhelmingly to use Grand Forks. They don't want to drive an hour. Time is money, and it's too important to them. If they're wearing a leisure hat, it's a different story. But when it comes to the business side, they want to be using Grand Forks. So again, this travel survey tool really demonstrated to us that there is a strong business travel market. And that was fundamentally what we needed to find out before we kind of went any further. So let's just show you a couple of logos of some of the companies that have taken the survey and have also indicated that they want to be on the business air travel task force. And it's some great names, which is great. This is one tool. The task force, the air service task force, is one tool that we will use as we go forward with our air service development program, but there'll be others. And so just to show you one piece of information as part of the air travel survey, these are some findings from the survey. When asked, I'm looking at the graph on the left, when asked, what are your company or organization's top air travel markets? By far, Minneapolis was number one, but we asked them to select all that apply. Denver, Chicago, Phoenix, DC, Atlanta. They all sort of made it into the top 10. And then the question on the right, which connecting hub or hub markets would you prefer if you could get it? Denver overwhelmingly was number one, which is United Airlines. It's a large hub for them. And then Chicago was number two, and that is the only dual hub in the U.S., so that would either be American or United. Perhaps that's not a big surprise to everybody here in the room, but it's just good that we were able to sort of get them to let us know that, these would be very important cities that we could get nonstop service to, because it will help us not just get to those cities, but also move on to getting many connections around the U.S. and the world. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to my colleague Zoe, who will give you the rest of the update.
Okay, thank you, Sonia. So as Sonia mentioned, about 2 weeks ago, we went to Jumpstart, which is an airline networking conference. And this is where airports are given an opportunity to meet with multiple airlines over 2 days of meetings. So it was the airport, us, Sonia, myself, and the airport's consultant, Megan Hunt, that attended on behalf of Grand Forks. We met with 5 airlines while we were there: American, Delta, United, Allegiant, and Frontier. Both Delta and Allegiant currently serve Grand Forks, and both airlines said overall they are very happy with the performance of Grand Forks. In fact, Delta confirmed what we have been saying, which is that Grand Forks is a top performer. It's one of the most profitable routes in the upper Midwest and in fact, even in their total system of airports. So while we were there, for each airline, we presented quick individual presentations that gave a brief overview of Grand Forks, the business air travel survey, findings that Sonia just reviewed, the short-term business outlook of business air travel, which is very strong, and then the aggressive initiative that is currently underway led by the city and the airport to expand their service options for the Grand Forks community. We had really great meetings. Everything was very positive overall, and we are currently getting back in touch with the airlines to continue discussion. And then, next slide, please.
Oh, sorry.
Thanks.
Yep.
Thank you. So going forward, our number one priority is to submit an application for a small community or service development program grant. And as Sonia mentioned earlier, the first thing we need to do is get an airline letter of support. Now, we began conversations with the airlines at Jumpstart and are currently working to get approval from either United or American. And while we have made pretty good progress, that it's definitely still a still ongoing effort. Now, if we're awarded a grant, the funds will be used for a revenue guarantee that would support hub market service on a major airline. For example, United to Denver, or American to Chicago, or United to Chicago. We expect the solicitation from the USDOT to come out any day now, and once it is out, we will have 60 days to submit Grand Forks' application, with a deadline probably in late July or early August. And as part of the grant application, the city and the airport have assembled a powerful public-private coalition consisting of 15 members that really showcases the support of the local community in the success of the airport. And that's the end of our prepared presentation. And we can open it up.
Great, thank you. I'll just open up if anybody has any questions. I think you've been doing great work. We appreciate, getting started before you even had the contract signed when you'd made the trip out here. And I think it looks like it's going in a good direction. So we all know it's not going to be easy. Even if we are perfect, it might still not work, but I think it's worth the effort. So any other questions or comments from council? Mr. Weber, please.
Thank you, Mayor. On slide number 8, bullet point 3, request grant funds for a revenue guarantee to support hub market service, which also requires strong local contributions, both direct dollars and indirect support activity. Can you talk about what kind of numbers we're looking at, and what does indirect support activity, what can that look like?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. I'll answer, and Zoe, please jump in if there's anything I've missed. But so we're thinking about asking for $1 million. It might be a little bit more, but maybe $1.2 million from the feds, and we would back that with 30 to 40% of direct dollars, so $300,000 to $400,000 from various contributions by businesses. As part of this process, this program's been around for 2 decades, a little bit more. And the DOT very much wants to see skin in the game. So as a community, if you propose, they want to see 20 to 40% of what you ask them for, that you have direct dollars that you've also pledged as part of this whole application package, an effort. And then in addition to that, they'd like to see some more indirect dollars. And so I'll give you some examples of what that could look like. But staff time that you would just pro bono as you're doing various efforts like marketing or promotion or administration. Cooperative advertising, where people might step up and say, okay, we'll just donate this sort of advertising or promotional sort of efforts, and that has a value, right? And so those are some examples. Like the CVB will get involved to help with promotion. The chamber would get involved. They would send out sort of a monthly newsletter where they would put in, if we got service from United, they would let their community know, hey, this service is starting in 6 months and you can book here. And then as it started, hey, United flies double daily or triple daily to Chicago from Grand Forks. And, that has a value. So that would be considered an in-kind effort. Did I answer your question?
You sure did. And so 1 to 1.2 million from the feds. We'd be looking at cash, maybe upwards of $500,000, which that's a lot of money. But when we think about the inefficiencies in our current situation and workforce development issues, I think that money, we get a return on that money within a fairly short period of time. And that's something that your group would be helping us determine, get a look at what those numbers actually look like, what the return on that investment could look like, right?
Yeah, and I want to say this too. These are pledges, and they don't. So when we're successful and we get the award, the next thing that has to happen is we have to get the carrier to come in. And at that point, all those pledges then start to, come due, so to speak. So right now, they're just a pledge, but they're what we expect everybody to follow through with on their commitment at some point, right? And that point first has to be, we get the grant award from the feds, we get the carrier to come in, and then we start to spend those direct and indirect dollars.
Very good. And that cash amount, you're talking about the coalition putting that up. That's not all city money. The city would be part of that coalition, along with
Yeah,
the other
yes.
dozen or so partners, 15 partners you have here.
Yeah, so you're right. Yes, the city would be in there, those coalition members. And then also, we are absolutely open to anybody else that wants to contribute to this cause. So we would not turn away anything from anybody. And so that would also be part of it.
Very good. Thanks. That's very helpful.
Any other questions? President Sandy, please.
I wonder if we shouldn't see if the chamber would be interested in trying to spearhead a fundraising effort from the chamber members to help out. I'm not saying that it needs to be a high-pressure thing, but certainly if the chamber got the word out and some of the local businesses actually recognize how important this is, maybe they'd be more apt also. Perhaps they wouldn't put in some dollars, but they'd make commitments to continue to fly local. Just an idea.
Oh, great. Well, I've got one last question, then we'll let you go. Early on the slide, you'd said we've got outbound leisure travel. Are we not a hotbed for leisure and tourism inbound in Grand Forks? Did I hear that clearly?
Mayor, I did not say that. I think we have enjoyed coming to Grand Forks. What we know for certain is that for a solid 6-month period in the cold and dark parts of the winter, people need to get out. So we know, as we've talked to the companies, each one of them has put on their personal hat and said, for example, we love to go to the Caribbean like 3 or 4 times a year, or Florida. So we're still, we're working with your CVB on the inbound side because that's what they do, right? But yeah, we know for sure the outbound exists.
Yeah, and thank you for the answer on that. I wasn't probably really looking for one, just pointing that out. So,
Sorry.
There's no other comments, which I see none. So thank you for your time in the presentation. Waiting to hear more. Thank you.
Nice to see you. Thanks, everyone.
All right, we'll move on to item 3, public hearings and second reading of ordinances. And it looks like we want this one postponed to July 1st. Why don't you read it in, and then we'll look for a motion.
Sure, it's public hearing and second reading of ordinance. This was postponed for May 20th City Council meeting.
Sounds good. And if anyone has any questions, I think they just need more time, so they were looking to postpone.
Approval?
So we got a motion are you approving to postpone it till July 1st?
Yes, sir.
All right, do we have a second? Got a motion from Ms. Osowski, second from Ms. Lunsky. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. That's it for item 3. Item 4, citizen comments as they relate to action items. Any citizen comments this evening? Ms. Lundmark? Perfect. All right, we'll move on to action items. Item 5, I don't have any that we necessarily need to pull, so if council, we've only got 6 of them this evening. If council wanted any pulled for further discussion. I did want to point out item 5.5, that talking with Dale Bergman, that did come in a lot less expensive. I think we were expecting around 200,000, and it came in at 75,600. So that was all good news on that and welcome news. So any other items anyone wants pulled this evening? All right, so we'll be looking for a motion on the essentially consent agenda for items 5.1, 5.2, 5.3, 5.4, 5.5, and 5.6.
I move approval.
Got a motion to approve from Ms. Osowski, second from Mr. Weigel. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. That will move us to information items.
6.1, statement of changes in cash balances as of April 30th.
Thank you. And item 7, approval of minutes and bills.
7.1, vendor list and engineer's estimate as is attached.
We got a motion to
I
approve.
move approval.
We got a motion from Ms. Osowski, second from Mr. Cavani. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously.
And the minutes from January 16th.
I move approval.
Got a motion to approve as is from Ms. Osowski and a second from Ms. Lunsky. All right. Any further discussion on the minutes from January? I'm sure you were all excited to go back and read those. All right, seeing there's no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. On to 8, citizen comments of the general nature. Any comments this evening, Ms. Lundmark? I know we had one that did come in through email. That was probably more of an agenda-based one, but
Yeah, there was one, just one that was, an agenda-based comment that was forwarded to all of you by email, and it is posted online.
all right, thank you. We'll move on to item 8, city administrator comments. Mr. Phelan.
No, thank you.
All right, move on to item 10, mayor and council member comments. Mr. Weigel, any comments this evening?
I would just say that our friend in the Boy Scouts came to a really good meeting tonight. Picked a nice short one, so you're in and out in less than half an hour, so.
Is it long enough to still get your badge? That's the question. Yeah, all right. All right, Ms. Osowski, any comments?
No, thank you, Mayor.
Ms. Lunsky?
I was just curious where to find a sample ballot of what's on the election for coming up.
Ooh, Ms. Lundmark, do you get the ability to see, because obviously it's different for everybody, but
Yeah, every ballot is a little bit different, but the county auditor, because it's a combined election with them, they should be running one in the Grand Forks Herald, and I can find out the date for that, see if I can get a copy and email it to all of you.
Thank you.
is that it, Ms. Lunsky? All right, Mr. Kavami, any comments?
No, thank you.
Let's see here, Mr. Veen.
Yeah, I would like to answer Ms. Linsky's question. I did go on the Grand Forks County website, and I think maybe I got into the Secretary of State, but I was able to find one specific for Ward 7. So I know that it's out there for each of the wards. So just a heads up. Otherwise, other than that, I have nothing to add.
Sounds good. And how many times were you on that election? You got Garrison Diversion and for Ward 5, so you probably saw your name twice. Is that right, Mr. Veen?
Yep, Ward 7 and Garrison Diversion.
Okay, perfect. All right, that would be, move on to Vice President Weber. Any comments?
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
President Sandy.
Mr. Mayor, as part of the public comment that came in, I think there were a couple question marks in the paragraph that the gentleman put, so somebody should, and I'm happy to respond to them, but as long as somebody answers the questions that he has, just a point. And regarding our internet safety training, Ms. Osowski pointed out to me that there are a few among us that haven't been keeping up with their training, that they probably should. A couple of you are off, I'll let you go. But I was thinking that if we can have Adam, because public humiliation is always a great motivator. Because Adam knows who's clicking on things when they're not supposed to, and I'd love to see him do an annual briefing and show some of the silly mistakes that the council members have made, so that perhaps the rest of us won't make those mistakes next
I think
time.
Adam's got us afraid to open up any email because it could be phishing, even if it's from him.
Thank you, Mayor.
All right. Well, with that, I don't really have any comments this evening, so just want to thank everyone for a swift meeting and looking for Ms. Osowski's motion to adjourn.
I move adjournment.
Got a motion to adjourn, second from Mr. Weigel. Seeing no further comment. Second from Mr. Cavani. Actually, I think he beat you to it. So, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We are adjourned.